I couldn't.
Hi.
I decided in the last second, literally as I was clapping my hands to do the start, that I wanted to start with the song of endings and such thing. I couldn't think of one. I blanked there. So this is the end of zero interest for RWBY. This is yeah. I'm going to retroactively change the name back to that because yeah, I don't need to explain it.
So, hey everybody. This was the finale of season 5.
For the show in its entirety, as far as I'm concerned.
Episode 14, Haven's Fate. So, let's go broad strokes over the episode, but let's not try to tie this down to timeline type things. Despite being surrounded by police and faunists and everything, Adam somehow escapes.
Yeah, he does. Memory serves, that bit of the episode was, hey, you should stop. You are literally surrounded on every side. And he's like, no, I don't wanna. And so, mini fight scene happens. And when I say mini, I mean like 8 seconds of Blake fighting him off, and then Sun showing up and being like, spinny staff, and that's pretty much all he does. And then Adam runs off. And Blake's like, don't follow him, he's just trying to lead us into a trap. And that's it.
He just somehow escapes, and everybody's there. All his people are captured. Nobody believes him anymore, and
somehow I didn't cotton on to the fact that these two are fighting him, and then he runs away, is completely in the open for about 3 seconds at least. No one tries to fire on him or follow him, like the airships with spotlights or anything.
He just, boom, gets away. There you go. We can't have him get captured, so he's just going to walk away slowly.
Before we move on, because I feel like we are going to get bogged down if we don't approach all these topics at once, and we're going to miss things. So, Adam left, and they say, hey, this basically broke the back of the White Fang, because he abandoned his troops, and they won't stand for that. So, you remember that scene in, I think it was episode 2, maybe 3?
Yeah.
Where Adam takes over the entirety of the White Fang?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what that was is just making the whole thing more convenient for the writer, and for no other reason. Also, they wanted to do the cool symbolic thing of him climbing the stairs and throwing her down the stairs. But also, just convenience for the writer. Because what this means now is because Adam was, at the time, considered the leader of the White Fang, that means all of the White Fang are done. If Adam hadn't have killed her, then he would have been done, and there would have been still a violent chapter of the White Fang, but a more moderate one that could be reasoned with. But now, because it's played out the way it has, there is no violent White Fang whatsoever, and everyone is peace-loving and hippies.
Well, I presume some people will probably still subscribe to the violence, but they're going to be under the control of, Gira, presumably. Because we can't have Blake do that, because she'll get bogged down. She needs to be able to go out to Atlas with the team.
Yeah, it seemed odd that no one spoke up and said, hey, why doesn't Blake do it? She's the one that set this entire thing up and gave the big speech. No one says a thing.
I was expecting they would.
Like someone to say something and then her to just kind of, play it off for a second while she has a think. Come back to that next season, but no.
Adam as a character has just been a supreme disappointment. to say the least.
Oh, you want to talk about supreme disappointments, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we've got a few that we're gonna have to get to. Um,
So let's
that's all the
go.
White Fang stuff.
Let's go back to inside the room where nothing happened, as far as I'm aware. It's basically they're quote unquote trying to fight who's left, but not doing a very good job, and nothing's really happening because we aren't allowed to see anything happen.
Hey, Blake comes in. Oh, hey, Blake. Oh, Blake's talking. Weiss is like, I always thought you were the quiet one because you said like 2 sentences just now. Okay. And so now they're going to stare because what's really important is not anything that's happening up here. We got to go down to the confrontation.
Not
Oh,
yet.
not
We
yet.
get Weiss and Blake flanking Ruby, and Ruby shouts, "Checkmate!" And they're going to do an awesome team attack, and it's going to be so cool, and I bet you wish you could see it, but you can't, because fuck you, we don't do fight scenes anymore, motherfucker. Yeah! It's finger guns. It wasn't quite in the frame. Finger guns. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Hazel is still doing his Kakarot routine. So
You know, it would be great if we had a great final fight scene with our main characters working together after they were separated for so long to end the season off. But,
weren't they always just better together kind of moment? But no, nothing.
no, you don't get that. Instead, what you do get is...
I'm trying to remember if there's anything else that we... There is one thing I want to mention before we go back downstairs, and that's Nora and Ren.
Oh, yeah, where are they?
Nowhere.
That's right.
But I just want to point out, this entire season, like we're going to do a full retrospective of the season at some point in this episode. This entire season, Ren and Nora's contribution was a scene change. That's literally it. Like, Ren gets hit and electrocuted, Nora goes rage mode, knocks Hazel through a wall, so that we can see the scene that's happening on the other side of the wall, and for no other reason.
I mean, we saw this coming last season.
Yeah. Called it in its entirety. They have no arc anymore. They contribute nothing anymore.
You know, and I suggested maybe they could still find something if they were to put some effort in, but they clearly weren't willing to put in the effort for that. Because remember, we still had no knowledge about Nora's particular origins.
Or why no one decided to try and hunt down the Knucklevi. Like, that
Yeah.
could have been a nice plot hook. Like, a conspiracy. Like, Lionheart has been working for the enemy for a long time. How long? We don't know. Maybe he was the one that made sure no one came and saved those towns because he didn't want them to, because Salem didn't want them to. That could have been an interesting plot hook.
Like, if you're gonna have talking anyways, make it interesting. Make it like there's plots that need to be unveiled that we don't already know about.
Yeah. And it would extend their arc. Like, you could say, hey, Ren might still be pursuing revenge. You know, do the whole Sasuke bit and have him put revenge on other people and, like, say, okay, I am really, really pissed at Lionheart now because he's responsible for everything that happened that's bad in my life. And then people try and bring him back from that, probably Nora, because, of course. And there you go. You extend that character arc pretty handily. And you can move on from there. And maybe you leave the characters behind after this season, maybe you don't. But you did something with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They do nothing. It's...
So, down in the vault. And remember, Yang jumped down here with one arm, with three people who presumably were working together and were very powerful down here. And she went down alone, which was great decision making on her part. She comes down, and fortunately for her, it's only her mother left.
Yeah. Who she immediately starts interrogating about things that she should have literally no knowledge about whatsoever. I can't see your face, so I don't know whether you're actually following along with me on this one.
Yeah.
So, she asks about Raven opening the vault, which she doesn't know that Raven opened the vault. She came down after that happened. She asks about what happened to the previous maiden. The obvious answer to that question is she's over there. Cinder killed her. But she's not referring to Vernal. She somehow has inferred that Raven was the maiden all along, despite not knowing that Raven is a maiden at all, and that she killed the previous maiden at some point between going to Beacon and now, basically. I don't know where she got any of that information.
I can't remember the exact sequence of events, but does Raven do the eye flare
Nope.
thing?
I checked.
No. Okay. I mean, at least with the vault, you can assume, oh yeah, the vault's open because there's a door that leads to a giant desert, and like that's probably the vault. But the maiden thing is,
That's probably the vault, but there's nothing to say that, Vernal didn't open it before she died,
yeah,
or Cinder didn't kill Vernal and open it before she died. There
yeah,
are a lot
like
of circumstances that could say, hey, Raven's not the maiden and has shown no inclination or evidence of being the maiden. Why would you think she's the maiden?
yeah, Yang, you're metagaming.
Yeah, essentially. That's pretty much what's happening here. And it really pisses me off, like, in a way that I didn't think it would.
Yeah, I somehow I missed that right at the time, and yeah, oh my gosh, that's just bad writing. That's not keeping track of which characters know what, which you have to do in any show that has any type of reveals planned.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording for just a second because I want to do my due diligence. I checked in the episode 14. I didn't check at the end of episode 13. Maybe she still had her flame eyes on then? So I want to just double check that.
We'll double check, and we'll be right back. There's no indication. We double checked of her with the flame eyes in 13, but I did double check 14, and Yang says you opened the vault, asking if she opened the vault, and Raven doesn't deny it. I guess that's the closest thing you get of thanks to the chaos you guys caused, I could open the vault, which could very well mean I had Vernal open the vault and then killed her afterwards, or I opened the vault and I'm the maiden. It's not committal either way.
So, yeah. Metagaming is a good word for it. It's taking very infinitesimally small bits of information and figuring out the entire plot of the series with them.
Mm-hmm.
It really does piss me off, and I'm not entirely sure why. It's just...
Because it could have been more of a moment. Because there could have been a lot more that we could have gotten out of this.
Like, this isn't even just saving time. This is just sloppy.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand cutting out a section of the maybe that's what they were going for? Is they had a long, involved talk about exactly what happened in the past 5 to 10 minutes of the canon timeline, and they just wanted to skip that? If that's what they were going for, they failed spectacularly, because that's not the way it comes across at all.
Yeah, no. So, anyways, at this point, Yang points out the point that we pointed out much, much earlier, which is you're getting a bigger target of yourself by taking that artifact. It's really stupid. You have no plan.
Yep.
To which Raven's like, well, gosh, I didn't think of it like that. And Raven decides to let her daughter have the target on her back because she's a very loving mother, and
Well, we've established she's kind of
yeah,
worthless as a human being, but
yeah.
I think that's what they were going for.
So yeah, she has a tear and says, "I'm sorry," but that doesn't mean much when you are letting your daughter take all of the heat for you. Uh, yeah.
So yeah, then she disappears, presumably by portal, based on the epilogue scene, which is her at, well, there's a raven at Taeyang's house, and they explained, despite the metagaming in this scene, they did actually put a narrative through line for that. She only has portals to certain people that she can travel to long distance, and Taeyang is one of them. Everyone else is already at the school.
She mentioned that before. Taeyang was one of them. So
yep. So
that makes sense.
That's a solid narrative through line that you actually put that in and made it make sense and had it go right the way through. That she had literally nowhere else to go.
Boy, that's going to be awkward. Well, I presume she left.
I think the implication is she just fucked off immediately.
But... Yeah, but boy, that would have been awkward. Just like teleport to his house, be like, "Hey."
So about our daughter,
I may have, yeah,
bait now for the mother of all evil, and I may have made that happen. Love you, bye.
Yeah. So, you want to know what the artifact is? It's like a lantern.
I did the Blue Lantern oath through this entire sequence of picking up the lantern.
It's a lantern. What does it do?
Yeah.
It's a lantern.
It gives people hope. Because it's a blue lantern.
Sure, we gotta take the lantern to Atlas. It's important. Oh, also Yang comes up with a...
He'll know what to do with it. Saint Walker will know what to do.
Yang comes up the elevator, and they're like, "Oh, that's not Cinder. Oh no, oh no, oh no." Emerald is crying. Mercury's like, "Yeah, no, we need to go. We're very much in a losing situation because we were kind of banking on all our allies to come up from there and kind of help us out. Because again, if they still had, I know Cinder would have probably tried. I know Cinder did try to kill Raven, which
Mercury situational awareness. We leave or we're dead.
Yeah. If Raven had come up with them and was still on their side, she could have teleported them away. Instead, the evil team is able to escape by Emerald doing like mind-breaking giant sailor monster that affects everybody.
Which she mentioned is like really hard for her to do in the previous season, in the good season.
Multiple people was hard. 2 people was strenuous, but like with the amount of that, she was able to somehow get all those people in the room. And I guess all the people outside, all the cops and White Fang and
I think the implication is the White Fang and the other White Fang are all involved in arresting each other, and everyone's kind of just focused on that at the moment.
Yeah, let's let the glowing muscle man just run away. And
Well, in fairness, what were they going to do? They came to fight Mooks, not Broly.
You know, they have
Broly.
They have air support. You'd expect something, and there were huntsmen supposed to be on the way that I don't think ever actually showed up.
No, in a hidden scene that we didn't actually get to see because they don't do that anymore, is Lionheart had them all killed. Like between scenes, we don't get to see it though.
No, but Blake said there are huntsmen on the way.
Yeah, Lionheart had them killed between scenes. I'm making fun of how bad the writing is.
Yeah, I know. Speaking of Lionheart,
Yeah,
good old Leo. He gets to experience the joy of tentacles. Because he's like, hey, Salem, Cinder changed the whole plan. This is supposed to be way simpler.
It's true.
It's not my fault. I can still be of use to you. I'll do whatever you want. And then he proceeds to run away because, he's the cowardly lion.
Yeah, and he gets stabbed, and then we cut back to Salem, and she calls him a coward. No. Really?
They're not even...
Where did that idea come from? I don't,
I thought that was like, that's more than on the nose. That's like up inside the nose poking to the brain of like, do you get it now? Do you get it? You got it, right?
In fairness, a lot of people in the comments seemingly still don't get that this is the whole Wizard of Oz cast thing. There are so many people just showing up and saying, hey, I just realized Ozpin is like the Wizard of Oz, and there's the Good Witch, and there's the Scarecrow is Crow, and then Ironwood is the Tin Man. And, yeah, people are still just figuring it out somehow. I
don't know. Okay, so, hey, everybody, they're going to Atlas next time. We'll see you all at Atlas. The place that I really thought we shouldn't go back to because I'd be forcing Weiss's story arc way too early and way too quickly.
I mean, not getting the whole Harry Potter being the Wizard of Oz thing is one thing, but this is really, really just in your face about it. So yeah, we're going to Atlas. Stage 3, fight, except don't fight, because we don't fight anymore.
This time, we beat the bad guys by them destroying themselves, making a stupid decision, and Blake called the cops.
Maybe that's the moral for this season. If someone's doing something criminal, then call the cops. It's a pretty solid moral.
If only they called the cops at Beacon. The cops would have solved everything. When the scope of your plan is such that the cops being called can really mess you up. This was so much smaller in scope than what happened to Beacon. Like, we're going to put bombs everywhere, but all the bombs are literally everywhere and glowing bright red, so they can easily be found and disarmed. And we could just sneak in, do it all stealthily, but instead we're going to ruin our surprise because I have a problem with you.
Incidentally, RWBY pint glass. Man, I kind of regret buying all this bullshit merch. So, yeah. So, that's pretty much the episode, more or less. Like I say, we had the button scene at the end with Tai Yang, and didn't really say anything except, oh yeah, she's running away again.
Hey, so let's just go over our thoughts for the season. No.
Sudden thought. You remember season 4?
Yeah.
Like halfway through it, with the exposition scene around the campfire.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a raven on the branch while Crow was talking about his semblance.
Oh my gosh. The raven is her.
Yeah, probably. She's just been spying on them the whole time. Which makes sense, I guess. Doesn't really excuse any of the writing of this season at all whatsoever, but I just thought I'd point it out.
Like, season 4, well, we had some problems with it.
The fight
I
scenes,
still,
especially, which I mean, they stopped doing those, so I don't know whether that's like balances it out or like
but we still had that crazy Tyrion guy running around,
yeah.
and he brought a lot of fun and life to the show whenever he was on. Uh,
Season 4, every character had a narrative arc.
yeah,
Every single one. Weiss was doing her thing with her family. Yang was going through a trauma. Blake was doing the start of what is an arc that has continued in this season. And Ruby travels to Mistral. This season, Blake continues her arc from last season. Yang talks to her mum and then is in the fight scene at the end. Weiss is in the fight scene at the end. Ruby is in the fight scene at the end.
and Ren and Nor do nothing.
Yeah, arguably Ren and Nora weren't actually in the fight scene at the end either. So, yeah. The entire thing at Haven has been literally just everyone sitting there and waiting and being like, hey, Lionheart is probably on the other team's side and is probably going to try and lead us into a trap, right? Yeah, it's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen. That's probably going to happen. We're expecting a trap. We're expecting a trap. We're expecting a trap. Hey, Lionheart called me. He's inviting us for a meeting after hours. Hey, do you think it's a trap? No, it couldn't be. It might be a trap, I suppose. It's possible, I guess. So we should go? Yeah, let's go. Oh man, Lionheart led us into a trap. What the hell?
You know, there's really like one major thing that they could have really used to make this season more interesting. It's a character called Watts. So he's just did. He kind of showed up. He's in the opening as being like the manipulative character. He doesn't show up in any capacity in the fight scene at the end.
Nope.
He disappears after the meeting with Raven.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you wanted to have, if say you're having budget problems for fighting, right? You can make a whole season be about, conspiracies and intrigue, but you put Watts at the center. You make that's his thing, is that he's got control in all these different areas of this place, and trying to kind of snuff out him and find out where he is. That doesn't happen because they don't have anything to do other than they want a big fight with Haven at Haven at the very end. They know that Leo is supposed to be a traitor, and they know who the Spring Maiden is, but that's not enough to carry a whole season.
You know what else is odd about this episode ending?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of comments being like, oh no, this is fine that it didn't really have any worthwhile or meaningful feeling resolution to any of the characters' arcs. This is just foundation for the next season. And I'm absolutely baffled by that, because foundation for the next season, they wrap up the arcs of like 8 different characters in this episode. They don't do it well, but they do it. Like, Yang deals with her problems with her mom. Her mom is revealed as kind of worthless as a human being. Ruby headbutts a guy. Blake's whole thing is completely resolved. Like, literally completely resolved. Cinder is dealt with, seemingly. Lionheart's thing comes and goes. And yeah, they wrap up a whole bunch of stuff, and they wrap up the entire thing with Haven. That's done now. They can leave, which in hindsight kind of makes sense that they don't bother really animating Mistral in any way, because they only plan to be there for like 4 episodes and then just not do anything with it, which is missing a trick in itself. But this whole season is wrapping everything up. The whole 3-season arc thing, that's not happening this time. It was 2, and it's done.
Yeah. Which is why I want to see at the very least, the first episode of the next season, because I want to see if there is anything left where they can go. Because they're leaving. They're going to Atlas. That they've established that. You somehow did all of Mistral, all of it, in 2 seasons. You didn't
arguably 1 season.
Do you remember? I remember this when we watched the Remnants videos, and there was this whole thing about
You're gonna bring up the criminal underworld thing, aren't you?
Yes.
They set all that background up. It doesn't matter in the slightest. They don't even mention it in the show.
They talk about, there's a big disparity between the rich and the poor, and this has been a source of conflict. There's a big criminal underground here. And it's the perfect setting for we're going to do conspiracy stuff and delving into the underbelly and the criminal underworld of this society to try to find out what's wrong with it. And nothing. They had everything laid out on a platter for them. And they were like, "No, give me the dessert."
Dessert?
I only want the battle at Haven. I only want
around and waiting in a hotel room for 8 episodes is a dessert. No, that's you filling up on bread, motherfucker.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, you want the dessert. You only want the battle at Haven, but you're not having any of the full meal. And the dessert comes by, and it's not really done. In fact, most of it's kind of just a mess. And you're like, this would probably taste better if I had the full meal beforehand. And you get a stomachache.
The metaphor is breaking down a little bit as you
It's breaking apart. Okay, look. You had a lot of things you could do with this whole continent. So many potential plot points, and with Watts as the smarter character, you could have, instead of it being a bunch of big battles, which I know you weren't going to do anyways, you make it about intrigue. And, very tense confrontations on a social level to try to find out what's going on. But we didn't get anything like that.
People are complaining at the lack of action. And people are saying, no, it's great because interpersonal relationships. And this show isn't about action. Well, for one, no, it was originally about action. It's a show about kids fighting monsters with ridiculous mecha shift weapons and magical powers. But even so, if you're gonna abandon the fight scenes, you have to replace it with something.
Yeah.
And conspiracy and intrigue was a viable way to go, and it's almost like they almost tried to do that, but balked at the idea of actually having to write such an intricate plot. And instead just went, trap. Oh man, a trap! Oh, I didn't see that coming!
And, you can have your villains be smart and still fail, too. They don't have to make a stupid decision like that. Again, the whole thing with Beacon, right? That kind of set up Cinder to be a bit of a schemer, even if the plan was probably just Salem's at this point. But you can work with that, and you can have, Watts is a different schemer on a whole different level. We can try to beat him at his own game, or we can try to kind of go around and try to learn more and go through some maybe not trustworthy sources to kind of formulate how we're going to handle this.
Yeah, we could beat him at his own game, which is Crow's thing, or we could try and bring him into the light so he can't hide anymore thing, which would be more the Beacon students thing. Mm-hmm. And you could even have them try and combine that into just all of them playing to their strengths. I would have loved that. I'm not sure it would have fit into a single season, but here's the fun thing about that. They had this plan where it was going to be 3 seasons to an arc. So
it would have worked. Most likely.
Rather than doing half a season's content in a full season, that might have been a better idea.
So you could have all of that and have this kind of elaborate plot. You get all the reveals next season, and you get all the wow moments. And when you have your budget back and your fight choreographer back, then you do the fights. You do all the big impressive fights again.
So, yeah, I'm not. Like, they didn't even do all the reveals that they really should have done. Like, you think maybe at some point RWBY would have thought, hey, that Silver Eyes thing that my uncle told me about? Ozpin, you know all about that. You mentioned it like the first time we met. So what's the deal? You're like
Yeah,
a
they never
thousand
followed
years
up
old.
on that.
You're like
Then,
1,000 years old. You have known about this. Absolutely. You must have. So,
yeah.
what's the deal? Can I use this thing? Probably be useful in fighting, like, Cinder, who's like Pod Grim or something, right?
Yeah, we.
Admittedly, that'd be a little bit metagaming.
But all she has to do is like, hey, do you know the Silver Eyes? Do you know anything about it? And Twitch Oz would be like, yeah, I do. We should actually, while we're training you for this month, we should probably train you on how to use that effectively, so that if Cinder does come, you can deal with her.
And that 1-2 lines of hand waving would have been fine, because then RWBY just using the Silver Eyes when she does might have felt a little bit more deliberate than just random trauma flaring up again.
Mm-hmm. When nobody was in a position of danger either.
Also, it could have played into John's arc of someone just stepping in to protect him again,
Mm-hmm.
which he has a bit of a thing about, understandably, at this point.
The season was a lot of poor decisions,
Missed opportunities.
and that's how I'm going to remember it, which is a shame. There were missed opportunities in season 4, but
Yeah, season 4 was missed opportunities. Season 5 is deliberately ignored opportunities.
yeah. And yeah, we mentioned previously how there were other characters who would be in Mistral that we've met before, who we could have gone to see, but we didn't.
Neptune, Sage, and Scarlet are all established to still be in Mistral.
And you know what would have been cool is guess who comes back at the end? It's Sun, and what if he could meet up with his old team?
And they have a bro moment. That would have been cool.
But
Just
no.
a little stupid fun moment in the middle of all this. I'm not going to say grim stuff, because one, that's a bad pun, and two, it wasn't grim at all because none of it felt emotionally impactful in any way, shape, or form. But, it would have been something nice and light and happy and would have been a cool moment. But no. We didn't want to animate those character models again in this new engine, so we didn't.
Yeah, I don't have any real hope for the series going forward, except that maybe they'll learn. But I don't think they necessarily will.
Like, for the last couple of episodes, I've been thinking, hey, Rooster Teeth are planning on starting an entirely new show that's a mecha anime. Maybe that's where all the animation budget and staff are going. Turns out, no. They started recording that like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't know what the people doing this series are thinking, but it's clear at this point that whatever notes they had from Monty are sparse, and they are not willing to expand more upon them.
Or abandon them entirely. Like, at some point, the framework gets so loose that there is nothing there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, without knowing where the original writer was intending to go, going from their notes is a monumental task.
And I think things like saying, "Oh, Ruby's poor at hand-to-hand combat, so she's gonna have a training arc for like a month." And like, okay, cool, we can handle that. Do one fighting scene. And then that all amounts is to a headbutt. I think it's Monty's notes are probably really good. It's just they're also being executed poorly. And so this kind of you get thing after thing starting to stack up.
I don't know if that's true, though, because the thing is, yes, Monty was spectacular fight choreography, duh,
Yeah,
and he was great at animation. I don't think at any point he's really established himself as a particularly good writer, though.
yeah.
Like,
That's
from the very beginning, Miles and Kerry had been on as writing staff.
Yeah, but I do think that I think he had a plan for his setting, but whether or not that plan is the best, I don't know. I can't see the notes. It's all just speculation at this point. But what I do know is I see the product that comes out, and I'm not satisfied. So we'll see where, I guess, or not.
You will.
I'll check because I just want to see if they can pull off something that makes me like the show just a little bit more. I don't know if that'll be even enough, but
Yeah. So, let me just establish where we are at this point. Zero has only been watching RWBY. As far as I'm aware, you don't watch any other Rooster Teeth shows whatsoever.
yeah,
And you're willing to give it at least one more try in the next season. Watch a single episode and see what they're doing. I am a Rooster Teeth fanboy. Like, as I pointed out, merch up the asshole. So, I cannot watch another episode. I can't bear to do it because it's just been disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. And I just can't anymore.
and
So,
yeah, I'm wavering.
a diehard fan has decided, no, just no.
And to be clear, I am wavering on even doing the first episode right now. It's mainly just my sense of curiosity more than any real interest in the show. So, I don't know.
So yeah, that happened. Also, worth noting, on the day this episode dropped for first members, one of the most prominent RWBY fanfiction writers decided to give up.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Just so disappointed that he just couldn't write it anymore. Which says something, because he was like number 2 in terms of writing. Core Alaran was the only one that's higher, and he does it for a living. So, yeah.
I'm not going to stop writing my RWBY fic that I've been doing because it's mine and I have control over what I choose to do. But I'm not going to let it continue past the 3rd season.
I'm planning on consulting with Kenshi on how he managed when Naruto happened, just in general.
He took. Well, I believe his strategy was take the things you like from the setting that you need, ignore everything else.
Pretty much. So yeah. Fandom Flux out, I guess. There's not really much else we can say. Supreme disappointment. Pretty much sums it up.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed our sad series.
Probably not. In which case, I'm kind of sorry. Like,
yeah, I'm sorry, but it's just hit that point.
It's never nice to see a hype train crash.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see you guys next time we do something.
Zero interest for Mob Psycho, but we'll
Yeah.
start as soon as I have a decent backlog. Yeah. So, thanks for watching. We'll be back when we stream on Thursday. No, the Anime Reflux is the next thing on tomorrow. I don't. Who cares?
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We have other shows. They're good. Watch them. Bye.
Bye.